everybody should receive something that says it's recording, right?
Yep.
The
Yep.
pop-up, okay, great. Well, welcome to you all for being here today, part of our Work Smart library workshops. Today, we're going to cover and talk about, again, continuing with our citation management workshops, Zotero. So Zotero is another one of our tools to help us with productivity, to help us with those papers or those projects. And it's a great tool that we often talk about, and we offer this workshop because a lot of people do use Zotero along with the other reference managers that we offer. But a little bit more about it, it is like the other ones too. It is a virtual filing cabinet, a virtual database of citations that you can reuse over and over again. It helps you manage projects, work on those manuscripts, those papers, and definitely is a time saver and helps with productivity. It does feature a dynamic citation generator where you can save these citations and work on whatever document, because it does install and have plugins in terms, it does install into the command ribbon of Microsoft Word as well as Google Docs as an extension, which we'll show a little bit later in the presentation. So it is open source software. It was created at George Mason's University. So one of the things or drawbacks is that usually when you try to find out, something, it's that you want to find a specific functionality or something about that software, you probably will have to use their forums or their discussion boards. It doesn't have like a fancy customer service line or a chat bot that you can ask it specifically for something, but it is very easy to use, and it does have a lot of features that will help. And also, it does work where you can use it, let's say you're a RefWork user or an EndNote user, if you want to switch, you're easily export from any one of those tools into Zotero if you want to use it, okay? So before I start off and continue, a little bit of introductions first Francisco Fajardo, for those of you who don't understand, so I do have to introduce my colleagues too, so I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm April Lafferty, and I am the hospitality librarian at FIU.
Hi, I'm Melissa Del Castillo. I'm the virtual learning and outreach librarian, also at FIU Libraries.
And of course, Francisco Fajardo, medical library. So a little bit more, and to continue on now about some of the advantages and disadvantages, I'll hand it off to April.
Yes, so there are, of course, way more advantages than disadvantages to using Zotero. Of course, the first one is that it is free. It provides 300 megabytes of storage on the cloud for free. You only have to pay if you want more storage. So it's like $20 a year for 2 gigs, 60 for 6 gigs, and it's 120 for unlimited gigs. There's a lot of collaboration with Zotero. You can have virtually unlimited group libraries. You can collaborate on Google Docs. You can view other group profiles. There's screen capture. You can do tags, which is not unique to Zotero, but it is a useful tool. Also, I already mentioned Google Docs. You can collaborate in that. You could also export citations from other citation managers into Zotero. So if you're switching around, you can do that. You can also drag and drop PDFs into Zotero. So that's all, a lot of the advantages to Zotero. There are also a couple of disadvantages that maybe I'll go over. Just one is there's no PDF viewer. It does cost a little bit more money if you need extra storage, and it is open source, as Frank mentioned before. So help is only available on the community forums. There's nobody that you can call. This might be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on how patient you are. And then, okay, so next is how do we get Zotero? So there are 2 Zotero versions. There's the online version, and there is the app that you actually have to download onto your computer. So what you want to do is you go to the online website. You're going to register at zotero.org, and you're going to follow the emailed instructions to confirm your account and all that kind of stuff. Once you have registered, then you want to download the desktop Zotero app onto your personal computer, and there are also browser plugins for Zotero that you can put into your browser. So if you are online and you find something useful, you can actually click the browser plugin and it will directly download onto Zotero. When you're using Zotero, if you want to use the Write in Sight feature, so it goes directly into your Word or Google Doc, you will have to use the desktop version instead of the online version. And I think that I covered all of that. So now we are going to be talking about building an online library.
Hi, everybody. Let's see. Are you, I'm gonna go ahead and share my entire desktop. So if there are weird pop-ups, please ignore. Let me go ahead. Oops. Okay. So can everyone see my screen? Just gonna maneuver some things around. Okay, so like April said, you will need to have the Zotero connector to be able to add from the web. If we click here on download, this is where we can find the actual connector to install. Now you'll notice that Chrome pops up pretty predominant. There are links to other browsers if you are interested. But the reason why the Chrome one pops up is because it really is the easiest one to use. It's less buggy than the others. And it is kind of like their default. It something to do with the programming just works better for this particular citation machine. And once you add the connector, it'll pop up in your bookmark manager. So right here is the Zotero connector. And what you'll notice is when I do go to different examples, the icon will change. But right now, what I want to say that is that there are a couple of different ways to add from the web. You are given an option to do an individual record or item or clicking multiple ones. I'm always going to say that it's probably better to just do one at a time. There are some issues with lag, and sometimes it's not always a clean process where if you click a bunch of them that they will, show up in your library. It's much better if you're just doing one at a time, which I'll show you how to do. So let's see, I'm going to go to my list, and I think our first one is the catalog. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go into our catalog and I'm going to do a search for artificial intelligence. This is a topic I've been doing some research on lately. And I think what you noticed is we were on a web page, but now we see a folder. And the reason why is because you can click on multiple items and add it using the folder icon. But what I think is a better way to do it, and the way that we recommend as a group, is to go ahead and click on the individual item. And now do you see our little icon is a book? So this means that the data that is going to be pulled in, the metadata, is going to be for a book format of citation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the book, and I can either save it to my library in a general folder, or if I wanted to send it to a specific folder, I can do both of those. So I clicked it here so that I have, more options. And what I'm going to do, I can also add tags, as April said, and Frank said, it's very useful to have tags associated with your individual items to be able to find them quicker. So I'm going to go ahead and add an AI tag and click done. So now if I go to my Zotero and I am logged in, I'm going to go to my web library. And I did add it to this folder right here. So here is my book that I have just added into the catalog, or from the catalog into Zotero. So let's go back. I can go in and I could find another that I find interesting. Well, these are very old. Let me just fix this with a little refinement. Okay, so here is a more recent title. I have my little book icon. I go ahead and I click it. Oops, wrong drop down. I make sure that I want to put it in this library, or if I wanted to do the general library. Later on, we'll talk more about adding groups, because we also have group libraries that we could possibly add this to. But once you click this little arrow to open it up, you have all of the options of where we want to put it. And here, let's add in a couple of top of tags. So now when I go back here, I have both of my two titles, my two book titles right here in my workshop folder for today's session. The next one I'm going to do is Eric. So let's go back to this page and let's go to our A to Z list. And I'm going to find Eric, which is our education database. It's a ProQuest database. But you'll notice within the different databases, you know, they all pretty much act the same. They have the same features. They just may be, you know, in different places. So it's the same for when you're doing a search and when you're refining your search. So let's go ahead and put in artificial intelligence here. And find an article. So you'll notice this is the folder icon. I could add these as a group, but we recommend, you know, choosing them individually. It's just a more streamlined process. So let's look at this one. Now this, you'll see that this changed. Now it's an article icon. So it's recognizing what the item is, and then that way when it formats your citation, it'll do it with ever formatting style you have to use for this particular type of object. So now we can click here, do our down, and we can do AI, and let's do education since we're in an education database. So I have two tabs and I'm going to click done. Oh wait, I just added it to the generic. Oh, here it goes. It is I did add it to the workshop. But you can always, if you did make the wrong, we'll show the library in a minute, but you can, you know, change your mind and move it to different folders once you've added it. So if you do click on the wrong folder or want to add it to a folder later on, it's very easy to do. So there is my ProQuest article. Very easy to do. Let's go back to our results. And we can choose another one. Now, I think this is different. Let's see, what type of item is this? Is that a conference proceeding? Hold on. Or a report? It's a report. That's why it looks different. It's a different icon. So we can go ahead and we could click here and oops, choose our folder that we want to send it to, and add tags if we wanted to, and click done. And now that report will be added to our folder in Zotero. The next one that we're going to look at is PubMed. We go ahead and just close these. So let's go up here and find PubMed. You'll notice that this one's different too. This is the website icon. So if you wanted to add an entire website, you can also do that. I will show you in detail when we do a search in the New York Times for that. But let's go ahead and let's look up generative AI and see what comes up. Do that. So here we have that folder where you can add multiple ones, but let's go ahead and let's choose one. Here we go. And now we're back to that icon for an article. And we can add our tabs. So just exactly like it was on the ProQuest, the PubMed is the same process. Click my article. But you really do have to have this connector kind of in an easy to add to position. So what I recommend is when I'm doing my research projects, you can move these around. I always make sure to have it right here in the very front of all of the other extensions. So let's add here. And that is for PubMed. So we've done two databases, we've done the catalog. Let's move to Google Scholar. The other thing I really like about Zotero is it is pretty intuitive. You know, we're going to be using the same functions that we just did with the other three, and just in another way. So if I go to Google Scholar, and I look up ChatGPT, you'll notice the folder for multiple results, but let's go ahead and let's click this one. Oh, this is interesting. And then I could go ahead and add it using that connector. And it will recognize if there's a PDF attached, or like the full text is available. I think that's a new thing. I haven't seen that yet. Have you seen that, Frank or April? They just did a big update, so it might be part of it. But it's nice to know. But I have my my libkey nomad that automatically finds the PDF in the library for me. So I also recommend downloading this extension, and make your life so much easier when you're looking for PDFs. But let's go ahead and add it from Google Scholar. And now our folder is growing, and you could see all of the metadata that is brought over, which you can at any time change if needed. You know, sometimes little issues like the way that a title is typed, where it's all capitalization, but that will not fly when you're writing your bibliography. So it is very easy just to click here and change it while you're doing it. It's very easy to do. So now we have a couple of articles. You can see it's already categorizing these books. So which one is this? Yes, it's a report. That's what it is. So it did recognize that for us. Let's go back to our Google Scholar and let's choose another one just to see. This one is in HTML. Let's see how that one looks. So here we go. It recognizes that it's an article. I can go ahead and I can add it to our folder. And now I have a pretty healthy size folder of items to be able to use if I were going to generate a bibliography. So that one is Google Scholar. The next one I'm going to show you is like finding something on the web and adding it to your Zotero library. I'm also going to say that the metadata, the information that it is pulling, is only as good as what the web editors have created. So I usually use New York Times to demonstrate this, but I also just want to note that if you're on certain sites and the person who has created the site has not entered in enough metadata, you may have to add it yourself, just like when we clicked on here and we changed items. So, usually the big organizations will have correct metadata, but, when you're adding from the web, there is a need to kind of just double check that it's pulling what needs to be entered in for a citation. So let's go ahead and go to the New York Times. And I'm going to go ahead and choose one of these articles that looks kind of interesting. There's a lot of drama on the internet. Oh, here's one about the high cost of weight loss drugs. I know that's a big issue that students are doing research on. So as you can see, our little icon is now a newspaper icon. So it recognized that we are on a news site and that the information that it needs to pull will be for a newspaper article. So we can go ahead and click here. And, now let's add something else. So let's just do drug. And now our workshop has that one specific article, or that one specific newspaper article that is not on the same topic, but it did recognize that it was an opinion piece. And the metadata is actually pretty good when you're pulling from the New York Times. As you can see, it has the correct date, the URL, and even a small abstract. That doesn't look like it has anything to do with the article I pulled. So this might be a place that if a student wanted to, they could kind of, rewrite an abstract here. Always good to check. So that is when I'm pulling from the New York Times. I'm going to go ahead and click on another so you can see my little cute newspaper icon that I'm going to click on. Oops. And I just, choose the folder and click done. So those are pretty much the main places that you would find citations and research that you would want to incorporate into a bibliography. Let's go ahead and take a closer look at our folder that we just created. And I'm going to first start off by saying that always check here at the top that you are on where you want to be, which we want to be in that web library, because sometimes we'll end up in groups. But what you want to be in is this web library here, but this is how you can kind of move through the different areas of places where you may have stored your research. Now we have folders. It's very easy to add a folder. I can go ahead, oops, sorry, wrong one, this one. I can go ahead and create a folder, and then I could move things from one folder to the other. It's very easy. But let's go ahead and take a look here. I have all my titles. I notice this one does not have a, oops, sorry, my screen is so small. 1 second, let me just. It looks like I would say that the publication is by the Office of Educational Technology, or wait, excuse me, the U.S. Department of Education. So, if you wanted to go in here and fix that it doesn't have a creator, you can by clicking any of these and change that here. Show empty field. So here's where I'm just putting this in really quickly. This is where you could add that author that's missing. So now I do have an author. When I create my bibliography, the author will be there available. And I think that's it for my demonstration. Was there something else that I've forgotten? Sorry, I have too many screens open. Did we want to do a drag and drop of an article?
Sure.
Let's
Be more
do
than
that.
happy. But Melissa, before we switch over to that side too, on Google Scholar or PubMed, because these are like an example of indirect exports, you know that we could also export like an entire group of citations at once, because as you saw in a little icon in the connector, you're able to pull multiple ones at the same time. So I don't know whether if you still have a Google Scholar or PubMed up, if you wanted to show a little bit of that too. I don't know before we show them. Yeah.
No problem. Oops, let's spell Google correctly. Okay. So for the folder, I can go ahead and click on the little folder icon. Sorry, I skipped right over that. And I can click which, oh, we already clicked that one before. Huggin GPT. I'm not sure what that is, but it sounds inappropriate. So let's choose a couple of other ones here and hit OK. And now this is popping up, and I'm going to want to pull them all from this results page. Oops, let's do. Okay, they did. But they did pop in. Just double check, do a refresh, because when you're doing more than one, sometimes it'll take a second for them to all show up. We've had sessions where we've added a couple, and then it took like 15 minutes later they showed up. So just go over, hit refresh, and if they're not there, give them 5 or 10 minutes and they should pop over. So let's go ahead and go back to this list and let's find a PDF. So I'm going to go ahead and download this PDF. Let me grab the title so I have it. Save it onto my desktop. And go back here to our folder, and I'm gonna go ahead and, oh, oops, not this one, this one. And I have my article here. I'm gonna go ahead and grab it and drop it. So now it is here. Oops, I had already added it in another way, but here's the PDF that I just added here. So if you already have a folder of PDFs, you can drag and drop those as a group over or individually. And then you can make the decision of whether you want to, add it to another collection or remove it from this collection. But you just remember that you have the ability after you have added it in that way. And I think we're going to move to you, Frank. Are you up next? Or did I forget something else?
No, well, now we have, so this is another way I could show you the desktop version of how to drag and drop, but that's another way too, so you could see. So
Let me go ahead and
Melissa
stop
just
my
showed,
share.
this is another shortcut, which is great about the citation managers, but Zotero does it so well as well. If you have not just a PDF, but you have to drag it one at a time. You can't drag a
Oh,
folder
okay.
of PDFs. Because what it does is you just drag and drop it into your library and it will extract the metadata and create the citation for you, as well as attaching that PDF. So that's a nice feature that it has, but definitely not a folder of PDFs. So that's
No.
something you have to do it one at a time. So I'm going to go and show my desktop and demonstrate. Okay, so this is my desktop, a little messy too. So here is the online client. This is what, when it's installed, this is what it looks like. And this is all that Melissa just added from the web version. So when you install the client, this is what it's going to look like, what's going to be on your computer. So here's a PDF, just something that I have that I've used, for other demos and stuff. So you could just go ahead and drag and drop this into the desktop, right into the computer, to the client, and just give it a little bit. It's going to read it and it'll generate the metadata and create the citation for you. So this is a nice little time saver too. If you have something, from a previous class or something that you have in another folder that you want to use for a new project or something, you can just go ahead and drag and drop that in there. So that's a nice little feature. So this is how it looks like when you install the client on your computer. Yeah. So this is something nice that we have. I guess before we continue, do you want to go over groups, April?
Yes, I do. I was going to share my screen so I can show how to get into the groups.
There you go. Oh,
Okay, let's see. All right, you should be able to see the Zotero screen in front of you. Okay, so as I talked about before, when it comes to groups, you have basically unlimited number of collaborations that you're allowed. You get 300 megabytes that are free, and then if you need more, you have to pay to get more storage, but you can collaborate with as many people as you want. One thing, Zotero does have the ability to do groups, as we already discussed. One thing about groups that you have to be careful about is the permissions. You want to make sure that you're very careful about who you give permissions to edit to, because it's really easy to delete things once you get into the groups. So make sure you're very cautious about who you give the editing permissions to. But let me go ahead and show you just how to create a group when you're in Zotero. So you're just going to go onto the online version of it, and you're going to go to the main Zotero page. And up here, you're going to click on the groups tab. And then from here, you can just click on create a new group. And then you're going to come up with a name for a group. And then you're going to choose the type of group that it is. I think if you're creating a private group, it's a little easier to pick a name. If it's a public group, sometimes the name is already taken. So you kind of have to find the right group. Once you type in the group name, it will create a URL that you'll be able to share with your group mates. And then, so once you've created the name, you're going to choose the type of group that you want to have. If it's a public open membership, that means anybody can find it and anybody can edit anything that's in there. If it's public closed, that means that anybody can find it, but only certain people who you invite can be editors. And then if it's private, then only the people who you invite can be a part of it and can edit part of it. Once you have chosen the group name and chosen the type of membership you want, then you just click on create group, and then you'll have your groups that are there. Oops, I wanted to go back to our groups that we already have. I was just going to show you how to do it from there. So now that you have created your group, you can add add members or take members away by just going to underneath whichever group you're interested in. I'm just going to use the FIU Libraries one here. You just click on Manage Members, and then you can click on Send More Invitations. And from here, you just type in the person's email address, and it will send them an invitation, and they can go ahead and add, and they can become part of it. And this is actually the place also where you choose whether or not they can become editors. Let's see, what else was I going to say? Okay, so we have that. Also, it's worth mentioning that people search is no longer part of Zotero. It is now groups. So if you have used Zotero in the past and you were using people search, now it is all underneath, it's all part of groups. And that is the end of my part. And I think I'm throwing it back to Frank now. I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you. So now, just to continue on another, to continue on with the presentation and just to talk about like the magic of what Zotero can do when you're working on your papers, we have to show you a little bit about the desktop version. So once you've installed it, I'm going to go and share my screen again. And once you've installed it, you want to go ahead and make sure that you go in and you're able to sign in after you create your username and password, and that would be under Edit. And then under Preferences, this is where you will go and create your account. You would sign in with whatever that you created online and make sure that you have these always checked off: sync automatically and sync full text content, okay? Once you do that, you click OK, and then just give it a little bit. But always what you want to do is make sure that you're syncing your library. It does it automatically, but just making sure that you have this, because you want to make sure that it syncs exactly with what you just created online with what's on your desktop. So this is all that Melissa created, and this is the interface, which is kind of nice that you see that here, exactly all that stuff that she did, pulling in from the catalog, from Google Scholar or from PubMed, it's all there. So before we get into the magic of how it works with, when you collaborate with others, especially when you work in groups or working on a word processing document, like when you're on Word or on Google Docs, there's another thing that I want to show you. It's another magic tool that we have. So here, where you see these little tools, these little icons under New Item, there's this one also, what we call Add Item by Identifier. It's a nice little tool. So let's say you have a DOI or you have a PubMed ID number, just like if you're working in PubMed. So that's something that you could, if you have that number, all you have to do is find the number, which is on the citation or on the actual, whatever, if it's an article and there's a DOI, you can go ahead and type one. So I pulled one earlier from PubMed. So I'm just going to put this in. And go ahead, hit enter. And right there, it added it automatically. Very, very quick. It's a nice way of getting into. So this is one that we just did that I pulled from PubMed. So that's another way of getting articles or publications into Zotero. So we have our online library, we have our desktop synced, we're ready to go. We're going to write a paper. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in. This is our desktop. I want to minimize that. I'm going to bring in over my desktop, over on the desktop. This is a Word document that I just created as a sample. Everybody can see this? Okay. So here's a test. This is the Mickey Mouse Syndrome Zotero test. Forgive the name. I'm just trying to be funny. So you've downloaded the program, it's ready to go, and you'll see that when you open up Word, that Zotero was installed in the command ribbon, and make sure that this is available. Sometimes there's some settings in Office 365 or Microsoft Office, Word 365 that you might have to check off, but usually that doesn't happen. But if it does, make sure that you see your settings. But you should see this installed in the command ribbon. Okay, I have multiple ones installed here, and a word to those that have multiple citation managers. Make sure that if use one or the other when you open up documents, because they will compete with one another, especially when you try to open up those RIS files. That is the preferred file extension for citations whenever you open it up, or you export them from any of our databases or PubMed or Google Scholar. So make sure that when you open it up, you're using the right program. They will compete with each other. That's something that happens. So for the most part, I've always seen it happen with Zotero or EndNote, but just a word of caution there when you're using it. They do compete with one another. So I have Zotero installed on the command ribbon, and I'm ready to work. This is my document. I'm here ready to go. So I want to put a citation right here. This is my document. I'm ready to go. And right here, you have the option Add Edit Citation. So I want to click on that. And it's going to open up the document, a little pop-up on the back in the background, which I'm going to pull over into this screen right here. Wait a minute. Okay, everybody can see the little pop-up, the little ribbon? Okay. Sometimes it hides behind a couple of windows or something. So this is what you're going to do. So what when I saw a couple of things that Melissa pulled in, a couple of the authors. So I'm ready to write my paper. I'm ready to go. So let's go ahead, and Yang, I believe, was one of the ones that you pulled in for the artificial intelligence folder for the demo. So I go ahead and type in the last name, or you could use the title of the article to, either or. And ready to go ahead, and I'm going to go and use that. And right there, I'm going to put in my citation. So there's the first one. Okay, there's Yang. And then I want to go ahead and maybe I want to add another one over here as part of my paper that I'm writing. So I want to go ahead and use, here's another one that we selected. So here's BizWaz. And right there, it automatically generates the in-text citation. Time saver. Very, very easy to use. But it also knows the rules of the citation style. So if I know I want to go ahead, and in this one, I want to go ahead and use multiple authors or multiple papers to cite for this particular document, I'm going to go ahead and, again, you go to Add Edit Citation. So here is my BizWaz again. I'm going to go and use, here's the other article. So I'll go ahead and see I have multiple papers that I'm going to cite, and go ahead. It's going to do it in order, exactly, order in alpha or by the year publication. So it knows what to do. Okay. But this is an example of an APA citation style. Now at the College of Medicine, we use AMA, which is the American Medical Association style, JAMA, which is more commonly referred to. And I want to go ahead and change this. Because I need to go ahead, I'm going to submit it for a paper, or I'm going to submit a manuscript or something. So right over here, if you want to change the citation style, just in a second, go to Document Preferences. You're going to see a pop-up window. I'm going to bring it over. It's going to look like this. So it's set to APA 7, the latest edition, but I want to go and switch it to AMA or JAMA 11th edition. Go ahead and select that. I'm going to click OK. And voila, right there in order of appearance. Does it in seconds, right? So I want to go ahead also, as I'm writing, maybe, and some folks might change their mind, I want to go ahead and add like a bibliography or works cited as I write, so to make sure that I'm doing it and working on it as I work. So I want to go ahead and add that, and that's just all I have to do is click Add Edit Bibliography up on the top, and it does it automatically. Okay, so maybe the professor wants to change the citation style. I want to change this again. So go ahead again back to Document Preferences. And from AMA, I could switch it over to APA 7. And it should do it in a matter of seconds. So it switches it back to APA. You can go back and forth and change it. And sometimes you can even see, if you go to Document Preferences, you could also find sometimes there are, and you can, if you click on Manage Styles, you can add different styles to your preferred styles if you want to. So here, sometimes you could switch it over to, let's say, Nature has its own citation style, and it also has that here. You can go again, click Nature, click OK, and it'll switch it to Nature style. depending on the title of the journal, because there's literally thousands of citation styles that are available. So you can switch it back and forth, change it however you want to, okay? But keep in mind, whenever you're going to submit a paper or a document, we do suggest that you have two copies. One with, because this is what we call their codes. That's what allows the magic of you to switch from citation style to citation style and for it to appear like it does, just in a matter of seconds. These have codes here in the background. So what you want to do is make sure if you're going to submit this to, like, let's say Canvas or a site or a manuscript submission system, you want to go ahead and click on unlinked citations. It's going to have a little warning sign here, a little warning message that says, removing the field codes will prevent Zotero from updating citations and bibliographies in this document. Are you sure you want to continue? If you do this, remember, you should have two copies, because if you have to go back and make edits, you want to work on the one that has all the field codes, okay? And once you make your edits, you again go unlinked citations and have two copies, because that's what you want to submit, the unlinked copy or the one that's stripped from the field codes to submit to either the, whether it's Canvas or any of these submission systems before you do so, okay? That's important that you do that. Okay, so that's, everyone saw how I did that? Any questions? Yes, go ahead.
So to unlink the citation is usually the one that we will submit for a journal. That's the one.
Correct. So that sometimes you see there's a lot of edits, as you know, that when we've submitted stuff in the past, there's a lot of edits to go back and forth. You want to always work on the one with the codes, because that's going to allow you to change things, especially if you have a very long reference list, right? Of all these different citations, you want to make sure that you go to the one that has all the codes so that you can make those edits and it'll change the order of appearance, especially if it's something like AMA or Nature or any one of these these journals that we work in medicine or in health sciences. Okay, it depends really, but that's good to know or have that in mind whenever you're working on a document. So that's an example of a Word document. How about if I am going to work and collaborate with others and work on a Google Doc? Okay, so I'm going to go and stop my share and I'm going to show you how that would look like on a Google Doc. So let me reshare. So here's a Google Doc. This is a citation test. And when you go, and usually it will install when you download the client or you do the downloads for, for the Chrome extension, as well as the whatever that you install on your desktop. It should also include the extension here for Zotero. If not, you're going to have to go to extensions and look for it on the Google Store to get it. But usually it will install automatically onto Google Docs. Okay, so you should see the Zotero extension installed on the command ribbon in Google Docs. So here again, there's just a couple of sample sentences. I'm going to use my same examples. So I'm going to go ahead and put in my citations. Click on Zotero again. Oops. Give me 1 second. Hold on, let me stop my share here 1 second. Okay, so
We always have to have a little technical difficulties.
right. So
But it
now
shows
it's
how,
working. I had to refresh the page. So excuse me, folks, for the lag at time. So right over here, here is Zotero. I'm going to place my cursor on where I want to add my citation. Click on Zotero. And here, exactly what you saw in the command ribbon in Word. This is what you want to do. So I'm going to add edit citation. It's going to ask you to authorize that you're okay with choosing the account. In this case, you know, it's going to add this. So, oops. Okay. All right, folks. Now it's allowing me to do the pop-up. It's good to know these things so everybody can see the little red ribbon, right? Okay, good. So I'm going to go in and add my citation. So here's Bizwaz again. I hit enter. So there it is. That's my citation right there. I just added it. And then I'm going to go ahead and add another one. It works just like the one in Word. So here it is again. I'm going to add. And I believe I have it already set to AMA here. But again, if you want to go ahead and change the citation style, or I can even add the bibliography here, just it'll add it automatically. So it's right there. And if I want to change the citation style again, document preferences. And it's in another window. So if I want to change it over back to, let's say, APA, I'm going to go and select that, click OK. And it's going to update the document. And again, you can go back and forth. The same thing with Word. If you're going to submit a group paper or something like this to like a learning management system or a manuscript submission system, make sure that you unlink the citations. And again, by going to Zotero, you want to go and unlink the citations and saving 2 copies of the same document to work on the field codes. Okay. So you see it works on Word and it works on Google Docs. So it makes collaboration very easy. That's one of the advantages of working with Zotero. So you could switch, go back and forth and do all sorts of stuff, but it does the magic. This is what makes it worthwhile. Okay.
Again, if I invert the sentence, also automatically it renumbers, right?
Yes. Yeah, you should be able to switch back and forth. But let's say if a student, Dr. Varela, were to send you like something through an LMS like Canvas, they have to make sure that they strip the citations and unlink the citation before they hit submit. Because what will happen is sometimes in a learning management system, you'll see it'll just appear like gibberish right next to where like the number or the author's last name would be. That's what it will appear like. So there would be errors in the code. Yeah.
So is it a good time for questions? I don't want to
Of
interrupt you.
course, go for it. Yes, definitely.
So that's a kind of an issue that I always have with my students because often their ideas are not necessarily in a coherent order. So one of the drama that always happens is that I'm flipping their text back and forth. So that's why for me, citation manager is important to be able to renumber the mess that I'm creating in their documents. So how would that work? In that case, based on what I understand you're saying, I would need to use the Google Docs for the exchange, right? So I don't need to unlink. Or is there a way that code of the positioning is maintained? So if I mess around and I send the document back to them, that's kept. So how would you recommend going there?
I would make edits or suggestions in the unlinked document so they can go back to the ones with the codes and switch around the order of stuff, and that way it'll do it automatically.
Okay.
One of the things too, because I just did this session for GCP, they also have to keep in mind that, of course, it's online, you're on Google Doc, you're working, but they have to have the desktop client installed so that it syncs. Any changes that are made is reflected on the online document. So that's important that they have always, when they're working on a document and using Zotero, that they have Zotero open in the background. But yeah, you would make your suggestions, your edits in the unlinked document. That way they can go back and make the changes in the one with the field codes and the one with all the stuff so they can move it around easily. Yeah. Yes.
Really nice.
Good. I hope that we turned you into a Zotero user too. But students have alternatives. See, there's a lot of different options that they could, they could choose. Yeah.
That's a very simple one. I like it, the how easy, and for them, for me, not as easy, but for the students, this might be a walk in the park in terms of friendly, right? For me,
Yeah.
I like to learn. I never noticed. And then when you were going, Melissa was going through the presentation. I have my Zotero open. I never noticed the symbols, and I realized I didn't have that tag synced, or I don't know. I think that's what you guys said, it is sync on my browser on the left side of the right side of it, so I could see the article. So finally learning, no idea that was happening. I do have another question about when you went through the book. Is there a way to get just a chapter of the book to be cited, or there's something I have to enter manually?
I think you have to add the field for chapter, and then you could just copy paste in the chapter specifically. You also want to double check if it is one that is by different authors, that you're also including the authors of the chapter and not just the editor of the book.
I see.
But yes, that's a question I might want to like just refer to, like just do a search and see. The great thing about Zotero is although they don't have that specific support, there are a lot of libraries and educators that are using Zotero. So you'll find a lot of guides on how to do things like that on the web, because they've created these online forums with, answers to any and every question. So it is kind of like a crowdsourcing of information. So I would, just to double check, I would just, do a search, Zotero, adding chapter of book, and you probably get multiple people who have written on that topic. I wanted to show one other thing, if you don't mind. Something I came across. Let me go ahead and go back here. That when I was doing research on AI, I found this research rabbit, which is something I think is, really interesting for doing literature reviews or just doing relational research, where if you have articles, finding other articles, and what you can do is you can import a Zotero collection into Research Rabbit. I don't know if you see the pop-up.
Yes.
Okay, good. Sometimes without the desktop turned on, you can't see the pop-ups, but I can go ahead and click here. I've already logged into my Zotero, or our group Zotero project, and I could click Start Sync. And I could name it. I could rename this. So I'm just gonna do demo as a name. And I have all of those articles, which I can click on, and it starts searching through Zotero itself for similar work. It has this
cool.
really cool little, here's Yang, which we've already, here are some of those papers. Their citations, those who have cited this article, and also their own references. So it's a great way to kind of like do like a deep dive into research just by having one article, because a lot of times, we get very few results. But if you find that perfect article that is what you want, you can usually use that to find other articles. So whether they have been cited or they cite, also similar tags, similar keywords. And the great thing is this is pulling all from Zotero. So these are known citations. If you're in ChatGPT, you've heard about the hallucinations where they've made up citations, but using this, it's pulling directly from Zotero. So these are actual citations that someone has entered into Zotero doing a bibliography. So it's pretty much, you could depend on them as not being, inaccurate or, misinformation, that, that it is pulling from an actual article.
So and Melissa, this plugin is only for Zotero, right? Because it's not available in the other citation managers. Okay,
And it's because Zotero's open source.
right.
And this Research Rabbit is also an open source application, which is different than any of the proprietary ones, the subscription ones, because it is available to freely use. I mean, there are a lot of Zotero like GitHub apps that programmers have created. I am not skilled enough to show those to you. But there are programmers that use that data from open source applications to create new tools. Sorry, my cat needed to talk about Zotero. He was very excited about it. But I just love this because I'm a visual learner. And, being able to see all of how these are connected, I can go back and choose another article and do that same thing where I'm finding, these different ones that should be related to the article that I clicked on. So I just wanted to show it. I'm not an expert on it, but I think that this is kind of where AI is headed, especially when it comes to research, because with open source applications, it's on the web ready for individuals to kind of mold into new applications. So Zotero is ripe for AI integration. And I think it's just gonna, be very attractive to students to be able to use some of these AI tools. And this one really is kind of like with training wheels. The thing with the ChatGPT is there are a lot of known issues, but this is really just contained within Zotero. So you do have parameters set, and not just willy-nilly, on the web where there could be fake citations and so on. But yeah, it's very interesting, I think.
Right. And again, if I'm understanding those figures, it's really like the center is somebody who was cited by all the ones around it. Is that it? How you're reading this? Okay.
Yes, so like here's the individual paper, and then these are all of
Cited.
their
Okay, cool.
the cited works. Yeah,
Really?
and then it has these other available
Oh,
ways to
amazing.
kind of play around with the data. So maybe I wanted to see kind of like what's the seminal work, where did the research start, or maybe I'm kind of in here and I want to see like what is the latest of the research. You can play around with these different
Very good.
parameters here.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I put the links in for Research Rabbit in the chat, so you all could have it if you wanna, yeah, it's in there. And also there's a libguide that we have on Zotero, everything kind of what we talked about, like installation to like what you need to do, how it works with Write Insight, all that stuff, that's also in there too in the libguide. Okay. So lots of information. I hope that you enjoyed this and that if you have any questions, Dr. Varela and Valeria too, yes, there will be a recording available, I guess, at some time soon, and whoever attended the workshop will be notified when the recording's available, right? Yeah. So any questions that you have or anything, feel free to reach out to any of us.